Good night. If you're just joining the Cranky Live Sportscast, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share this video. Today's episode is about, we're going to dive into a hot button topic issue that's been sparking controversy, having a lot of discussion across Jamaica, and I would say probably across the footballing world. It's about how should we treat the universe of football players in Jamaica, which is we hear the concept around balancing the squad. Is balancing the squad one of xenophobia, quota, or does it have a much more uplifting objective? And if so, why is that the case? So let's get into it, because this concept about balancing the squad, we have hear about the concept of quota, but is this really direction we want to go in? The Reggae Boyz have been a symbol of Jamaica pride on the international stage, no doubt about that. But over the years, there's been a growing debate about the mix of players in the squad, particularly between those from the local leagues and those from the diaspora. Here's the key fact. Many of these diaspora players are naturalized citizens of Jamaica. In fact, for you to play for Jamaica, you have to be a naturalized citizen. They have Jamaican roots and have gone through the proper legal process to represent the country. This makes them entitled to the same rights and privileges as any locally born player. So the real question is, why do some still view them as outsiders? Is it fear, or are we letting biases overshadow the ultimate goal, which is fielding the best possible team? To address this debate, the Jamaica Football Federation has implemented a quota system for the junior team, which limits the number of diaspora players in junior squad. And some believe it resides in the senior team. The reasoning is, more often than not, to ensure opportunities for locally developed talent and to maintain this so-called Jamaican identity, which inherently sort of suggests or indirectly sort of suggests that those born outside Jamaica to Jamaican parentage or lineage are not really true Jamaican. Let's not forget, many diaspora players are competing in some of the world's most prestigious leagues. Their exposure, experience, and professionalism are critical assets for the Reggae Boyz. Limiting their opportunities in numbers, does it really satisfy the best interests? Or does it hinder the squad potential to perform at the highest level? Let's listen to some of the experts in Jamaica and their perspective on this. But this is very important.
It might sound a bit like deja vu, like we've been down this road before, but we are at yet another critical juncture in yet another World Cup qualifying cycle. But we're going to make the call again for balance in the selection of the team. This thinking that has not worked for 25 years, that any player playing in any league in England is better for the team than any other player playing anywhere else in the world. Steve McLaren, an Englishman, was brought here, obviously, to reinforce that flawed philosophy. But we must stop thinking in absolutes and start thinking balance. The fact of the matter is, as a compliment to some of the England-born players, some of the born Jamaican players are conspicuously adding more intensity, tenacity, technical skills, and commitment to the team that we're not seeing when they are not in the team, tell the truth. And we're not saying no foreign born or all local born or vice versa. Again, we're begging for balance. Just some more balance.
Well, people, that was Oral Maverick Tracy, who is a prominent person in the media in Jamaica, or as I call him, LSM. Those of you who want to know what the acronym LSM means, you can watch my YouTube show yesterday, where I talked about LSM. The first word in that name is little, and you can figure out the rest of it. Because I think this person is what I would call a xenophobe. Let's tackle the elephant in the room, people. There's the accusation of xenophobe, And people like oral LSM, I should say, are xenophobes. It's very obvious. Now, they will espouse this view that this is not about having all local or all overseas players in their team. They're trying to show this concept of objectivity, but they're not, right? Some locals, like some of these individuals, and one I just played, argue that naturalized players aren't really real Jamaicans. There's terms like foreign-born or British rejects, which are used commonly in the Jamaican environment, and they're thrown around in discussion. However, many of these players grew up connected to Jamaica culture. Many have actively chosen to represent Jamaica, sometimes over their own country. Many feel like they're foreigners in the countries they were born. They're not accepted, and Jamaica is their respite. And as citizens, naturalized citizens, they have the same right and privilege to wear the black, green, and gold as any locally born player. So the question we need to ask is this: are we holding diaspora players to double standard simply because they weren't born on Jamaican soil? Is it that as a diaspora player, you have to be twice as good as a locally born player to get in the national team? We have to find the right balance. Here is another perspective from a renowned Jamaican concerning this whole idea about who should be in the national team.
Sorry.
And what about the constant recruiting of England-born players by the Jamaica Football Federation?
No, that is not, that is crazy. That is crazy, crazy. How can you develop the football in the country? You bring in players from outside of our national program to come and play a game 2, 3, 4, 5 days they bring him in. That's not arguing well for our football. It is not doing good for our football. That is one of the things that is destroying the football. What you're saying to me then, abandon the National League, I don't want the Premier League, because you're not giving the players no incentive. You're not giving no opportunity to come to the fore, to make the transition. So for me, it's a no-no.
Now, that's one of the most asinine comment I have ever heard about this. First of all, how does a diaspora player affect the development and growth and exposure of a locally born player? Most players are developed through clubs, not through the national program. And in fact, a number of those players who are in the team play overseas. Most of the players who are performing really well and who are locally born get overseas contracts. And if you look at most countries across the globe that export players, look at South America, Ecuador, Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil. Most of those players play overseas, even though they're locally born. This concept that the players in the local league won't have a chance is ridiculous and ludicrous, and has been proven incorrect. Now, this idea, which LSM also suggests, about commitment and playing harder, let me ask LSM this question. Does Richard King run around as if he's Ronaldo Cephas? Does he play that way, or is his style a much more composed style of playing? Does McGee do that? Or is his style a much more composed style of playing? Because you run around a lot is not indicative of the fact that whether or not that you are committed. That's not commitment. Commitment is how you perform on the field, and it's very disheartening to hear this. Now, what do you think, people? Should quotas remain in place for the junior team and even the senior team, because I think it resides there? Or should Reggae Boyz prioritize selecting the best players regardless of origin? We don't agree that we all agree that it's essential to develop local football. We want to see homegrown players maximize their potential, get an opportunity, perform at the highest level. We need better infrastructure. We need better training. We need better resources. But it cannot be at the expense of a citizen, a naturalized citizen. Where in the world do you see where citizens have differentiated privileges and rights in terms of what they do in a given country? There are hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans who migrated to the UK and to the US. You think we would accept the notion that we're not equal in terms of citizenship rights in these countries? So why should Jamaica be different? Jamaica's constitution and the JFF's constitution both talked about not discriminating, both afford rights and privileges to individuals when they're a citizen. It didn't differentiate between naturalized and those who are locally born. So why are we having this conversation? Why do we have quotas in place? Why should quotas remain? And think about it. Do the criticisms of diaspora players stem from concerns just about player development, or is it something else? Is there an inherent bias? Is it xenophobia for people who were not born or grew up in Jamaica? The Reggae Boyz have potential to do really, really well in world football. We have had a quota system which has restricted us from having the best players in our junior team. Look at the under-20 team. They played 3 games in the World Cup qualification for CONCACAF, trying to get to the World Cup through CONCACAF means in Central America just this year. They lost those 3 games by 15 goals in total, an average of 5 goals to nil. And then against the US, they were defeated by 9 goals to nil. We have about 14, 15 players at clubs like Chelsea, Ajax, Tottenham, who had their Jamaican papers and were not given the opportunities because we have this quota system. And the quota may do much more harm than good. So tell me what you think. Do you agree with the quota? Do you agree with the xenophobia? Do you agree with the idea that citizens should be given all rights and privileges afforded them by the country? Is locally born should be prioritized over those who are deemed to be naturalized? What do you think? Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. This is the Cranky Man. I'm out. Peace.